Well, guys, as you know, if there's one thing I love to do, it is unbox Tolkien books, and we've got a really nice set here today. This is actually the Folio Society Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, these are ones that I've always kind of had my eye on a little bit, so I'm really excited that today's the day that I'm actually going to open these up, take a look at them, and add them to the nerd shelf here. Now, right off the bat, we see the Dwarvish runes at the top and bottom, and an interesting font for the Lord of the Rings here. We've got a really nice, rich red for the outside. Looks pretty sharp with the green of the books. And without further ado, I'm just gonna pull these out because I'm really excited to pull these out. Look at that. And these were really well packaged when I got them in the mail, which I always love when places package their books well. We've got protective pages between the books. Nice touch. Here we go. Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. And we'll start with Fellowship of the Ring, of course. Great place to start. And we've got what looks to be a black rider on his horse. That's my guess anyway. I kind of like, this simplistic design. It honestly, whenever I look at these books, they kind of give me a throwback feel. Like these feel like old books. They're brand new books, but they feel like they could be old books. I imagine that if I were the type to have a smoking jacket, I would wear it while reading one of these. Does that make sense? Maybe, probably not, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and dive into these books. Now, right off the bat, we get this nice map of the Shire. Very nice. I love maps after all. And this is illustrated throughout. There's 67 total illustrations. They're illustrated by Ingahild Grathmer and drawn by Fraser. Now, the text, of course, is going to be the same as whatever other Lord of the Rings copy you might happen to have, but the illustrations obviously are very unique. I think they're among the most unique of illustrated editions of the Lord of the Rings that I've seen. And here we have what appears to be maybe a Nazgul holding a ring. I'm not really sure. But I just really love the fluidity of this illustration style. I don't know. I've just always liked Fraser's work. And if you think, oh, that kind of looks familiar, you might know it from the 1981 BBC radio drama. And I know what you're thinking. It's a radio drama. Why would I know illustrations from it? Well, they had promotional pieces that ran back when the broadcast was going on. So there's a lot of these little illustrations that he did that were published like in the newspaper to advertise for it. And it's a very distinct illustration style that I think works really well for these books. Now, a real quick interjection from behind the scenes of the Nerd Cave here. This is actually one of my favorite memorabilia pieces that I have. This is a poster from the 1981 BBC radio drama, and it's illustrated by Fraser, the same illustrator as the Folio Society books. And I actually noticed that this pose with the hands and the ring, that where Gandalf is shown holding the ring here, is very similar, very reminiscent of that image that we saw that might have been a Nazgul. So maybe it was a wizard, maybe it was Gandalf with his hood up. Here we have the Hobbit holes, a shortcut to mushrooms, fog on the Barrow Downs. There at the sign of the Prancing Pony. So a lot of these obviously are going to be the chapter headers, the images for the chapter headers. But we do get a few full-page illustrations peppered in, as we saw earlier. The Council of Elrond, so this is the Hall of Fire. And of course, it's still going to have the things like Tolkien's illustration of the Doors of Durin. So they're not taking those out just because it's illustrated by someone else. You're still going to get those few bits that were in the original as well. So here we have the runes on Balin's tomb. And then on the opposite page, we get the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. And then on the back cover, we get the wider iconic map of Middle Earth that we know. We recognize the coastline and everything. And then the inset here, This kind of focuses on kind of southern Rohan, but we get the Falls of Rauros here where the Fellowship breaks. We have Daggerlad, where part of the War of the Last Alliance took place. So we get a little inset into northern Gondor here. Next up, we have the Two Towers. Another nice, simple cover. I just really like that look. And this is actually the map that concluded Fellowship of the Ring, so you'll notice that. Here we have what appears to be the Falls of Rauros, is the full page illustration. The departure of Boromir. So there we have Boromir in his funeral boat as they send him off. The Riders of Rohan. There's the Lorien brooch that tells them that they're following Merry and Pippin. They're still alive. The Uruk-hai. So here we have an image of an orc, and it's got the eye of Sauron on its shield there. As we know in the books, it was a mixture of orcs, some who served Sauron and some who served Saruman. And they kind of have beef with one another. There we get Shadowfax. I kind of like the font that they use for the chapter headers too. The road to Isengard. So here we see the army marching for war. Oh, this is an interesting illustration of the Palantiri for the chapter of the Palantir. And then as we go into book 4, get to Frodo's part of the Two Towers, go into the Taming of Smeagol. Herbs and Stewed Rabbit. Choices of Master Samwise. So here we have the Ring, the Phial of Galadriel, and Sting. And then again, we've got that same Middle-earth map to conclude Two Towers as well. And finally, we have the Return of the King, which has Mount Doom, but also the Eye of Sauron here. Same map. And we get into the Return of the King. Oh, and here we have what appears to be a funeral pyre. Very grim. Minas Tirith. The Muster of Rohan. The Pyre of Denethor. There we have Denethor. He's got the Palantir in his hands. The Last Debate. We get the banners here. So we've got the Knights of Dol Amroth, the White Tree of Gondor with, this is the heraldry that Arwen makes for Aragorn. And then we have, of course, the Riders of Rohan. The Black Gate opens. I really enjoy this one. So this is an army of orcs bearing the Eye of Sauron on their shields, coming out of the Black Gate. The Land of Shadow. So we get a environment shot of Mordor. Here we've got the Field of Cormallen, where they all meet up after the great victory. Sam and Frodo awake there after their rescue at Mount Doom. The Steward and the King. So there's the epic Crown of Gondor with the wings. Ooh, Scouring of the Shire. So here we see some industrialization happening in the Shire. And the Grey Havens. The final chapter. And then, of course, it obviously includes all the appendices with all the snippets of stories, timelines, genealogies, all the wonderful stuff that's in the appendices. If you haven't read the appendices, you should really get on it. And then the final image, we have another map of the Shire. So we see Hobbiton right here. Very nice. Buckland. I always love just looking at the maps. Well, there we go, guys. It is the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Folio Society. I gotta say, I've unboxed a lot of books here on the channel, but these are definitely some of my favorite. And, you know, it's not like it's this big splashy illustrated edition, which I go for those a lot. I really like illustrated editions. But these just look and feel really nice in a classic way. I don't know if I can quite put it into words accurately, but it's almost like I have a nostalgia for these books, even though I just got them. They just look classic to me. You know, these look like a really nice set of books that have been around for a long time. Like if my grandpa was a Lord of the Rings fan and had a nice set of books to pass down to me someday, granted my grandpa was a farmer and had absolutely no time for fantasy and would probably think what I do for a living is super weird. But if he did like Lord of the Rings, these are the books that I would want him to pass down to me. But at the end of the day, there's no wrong answer when it comes to collecting Tolkien books. You gotta go with what appeals to you, what you like. For me personally, this is a set that I really, really enjoy. And a big thank you to the folks at Folio Society who sent this along to me so I could unbox it with you guys today. But not only that, they are partnering with me to give away a set of these over on Instagram. So follow me over there if you don't already. Details will be in the post on Instagram, and someone is going to get this beautiful set of Lord of the Rings books for free. And if you're interested in checking these books out for yourself, go to the link in the description. They not only have Lord of the Rings, but they also have The Hobbit and The Silmarillion as well. And let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do an unboxing of those in a future video. But for now, head on over to Instagram for the giveaway, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.